basically like a Simpsons writer, but a black lady, and it's cool. Yeah. Hi, hello, and welcome to the Cozy Little Book Club. I'm your host, Taylor, and I also have a co-host by the name of Boo. He is my cat. Occasionally, he likes to make a little cameo.
Hi. Say hi. Say hi. Oh, the baby.
He's like, all right, enough. Anyway, I'm really excited because this is the very first episode of the Cozy Little Book Club, and I'm so excited to embark on this journey of fun storytelling and reading. Now, you may be wondering, why am I doing a podcast about reading? I was just reintroduced to the joys of reading for fun. I think that people stop reading for fun and have to read for school or work or things of that nature. And it just, for me, I think when we also get to around age 25, we start reading again, but it's not really for fun. It's more like self-help books and self-development and things like that, which is not bad. You know, I'm not saying that's not fun for anybody, or nor am I saying that it's not helpful, because I've definitely went through that and I thought it was very helpful for me, but it did not make reading appealing to me necessarily. How I used to be excited about reading a book and staying up with the light on. I actually want to talk about how subjective the word fun is. So reading for fun. For me, reading for fun is adventure, action, crime, romance, things like that. Some people really do have fun reading self-help or things like that. But also some of the books, like for example, the book that I'm going to introduce you all to, it could be seen as a little bit dismal for some, but I think it's a really good story and just makes you think. So I'm really excited to get into it. It might be a little scary for some, but I promise it is really well worth reading. So the very first book that we are going to be discussing, drum roll please, The Parable of the Sower by Octavia Butler. I'm so excited to talk about this book. Not only am I excited to talk about this book, I'm thrilled. I am thrilled to talk to you all about Octavia Butler, the queen, the literary science fiction diva who can tell the future. She's basically like a Simpsons writer, but a black lady, and it's cool. Yeah. So, yes, I'm so excited. So when I ask people if they've ever heard about Octavia Butler, people always tell me that, you know, they've heard of her name, but they never really read her. And I'll be honest, up until last year, I really didn't. I've heard of her too. I was just like that. Then I read Kindred. I was shocked by how engaged and how interested I was in this book, because if you have read Kindred or have heard of it, it has to do with slavery. That's just like that's not what the whole story is about. There's time travel and slavery and all kinds of things. But for me, I just don't like to read things that have to do with slavery or watch things. I don't know why they make so much slavery content. I don't know who their target audience is. It is not me. But I say all that to say that despite that, this book was so... what can I say about it? It was just amazing. The storytelling. She is just... They should study her. I'm sure they do, actually. I'm sure they do. Somebody should be. I'm really excited to talk to you about her. So I'll be honest, I listened to Kindred on an audiobook, and people say that reading an audiobook is not the same as reading a book. It's still a story. You're still learning. You're still tuned in. You're still interested. So don't discredit the audiobook, okay? So anyway, and I will be honest, some of these books that I will read will probably be audiobook, because I sometimes read multiple books at the same time, but we'll talk about that another time. So back to Octavia Butler. If you don't know who she is one of the greatest science fiction writers of our time. And again, like I said, people think of her as, some people, maybe not everybody, maybe just me. I think of her as basically how the Simpsons writers are for television and foretelling the future. I think of her as that for books. she just knows what she's talking about. And this book is a prime example. So you know how they say that Jehovah's Witness, they typically go door to door spreading the gospel of Jesus? That's what I was doing with Octavia Butler. Anybody, I'm telling you, anybody that would listen, I was telling them about Octavia Butler. I was really a full Butlerite. And to be honest, Octavia Butler is who's really got me inspired to make this book club. So this book club, the Cozy Little Book Club, is for sure dedicated to Queen Octavia Butler. Shout out to her. A literary angel. A literally literary angel. R.I.P. Now, let's get into it. The setting of the story is basically when shit hits the fan in America. Everything that we see as a society today is no more. Global warming has caused a ton of issues such as lack of water, actual degradation of the land, as in pieces of California are floating and breaking off and floating away. The economy is absolutely trash. Money does not hold the same weight as it does now. I mean, does money hold a lot of weight right now? People don't have jobs. People aren't in school. People aren't in school to get jobs. It's just complete mayhem. If you are able to live in a home, you live in a home that's in a neighborhood that is within a walled community. So we're not talking about fancy gated communities to keep people out with the sometimes occasional broken gate. No, I'm talking about actual walls that you can build around your neighborhood to keep anarchists and drug abusers. If you go outside of the walls of your neighborhood, you might be attacked, you might be raped, you might get robbed. It's just, again, law and order has gone completely out of the window. It is madness. So just you wait. It's even crazier. So the story follows a young girl by the name of Lauren Olamina in, get this, the year 2024. I want to say that this book was published. So I don't know when it was written, but it was published in 1993. So just keep that in your back pocket. The book starts on Lauren's 15th birthday, which happens to be July 20th. So shout out to the Cancers and keep that little bit of information. She's a Black girl who lives in a neighborhood in LA. Lauren is incredibly smart and she is the daughter of the neighborhood preacher. Her mother passed away during childbirth and her father remarried. And now she is the eldest of 5 siblings. She's been homeschooled by her stepmother because it's literally too dangerous for anybody to go to school. So not only is she learning things through her stepmother, but she is also homeschooling the other kids within the walls of the neighborhood. And the way the book is set up is that we're getting the firsthand account of what's happening in Lauren's world through her perspective via her journal. So the whole book is basically journal entries of what's going on. So immediately as we're reading these journal entries from Lauren, we know that she's not only smart, but she is very aware. She knows that the way that they're living in these walled communities, and there are people causing mayhem right outside the walls, she knows that this cannot be sustainable. She starts planning to figure out a plan on how she and her family are going to survive when that day comes and what they will do. So she makes plans and she's writing in her journal. She's reading a lot of books, a lot of history books, reading maps and things like that. She is getting trained to go. She is almost TTG, but she still had a little bit more to learn. She's only 15. So while she's getting ready and trying to spread awareness of like, this is not gonna work forever. This wall can't keep us safe forever. She starts talking to people. Not too many. She doesn't want to share the idea with a lot of people because, sometimes when you peep things ahead of other people, they're like, nah, it's not gonna happen. So the people around her, specifically the older people, they reminisce about the old days, pretty much the days that we're living in now, where we have electricity and running water and it's no big deal. They're looking for some comfort that that's gonna happen again. Lauren's like, I don't think so. We should plan ahead. And so she believes that something new must emerge from this chaos. And it's funny because her dad is preaching the word of God throughout the neighborhood as a preacher and telling them, to lean on God through these times, but she doesn't feel quite the same. So through her journal entries and learning more about religions and just the way life is, she comes up with her own kind of philosophy / religion called Earthseed. Earthseed is basically a way of life that recognizes that the only constant in life is change, and that change is God, not a figure that you worship. And it also acknowledges that you as a person have the power to shape your destiny. Oh, and by the way, Lauren has an illness that is called hyperempathy. Hyperempathy pretty much is when someone can feel the pain and pleasure of other people around them. And with it being such a terrible time that she's living in, she's not getting a lot of pleasure. So she feels a lot of the pain of the people and the things that happen around her. So for example, let's say Lauren just happened to see someone get punched in the face. She will feel the effects of the punch to her own face and her own body. And with there's so much violence outside of the walls, you can imagine that can be really hard and oftentimes quite debilitating. So talking about this right now and looking back at it, I thought it was quite interesting that she is a Cancer. Actually, she's a Cancer Leo cusp, which is also, thinking about it, quite interesting because she has great leadership skills. And then her being a Cancer and this hyper empathy, those things kind of go together to me personally. What do you guys think? You can definitely leave a little comment in the comment section because I would love to hear your thoughts on it. So moving forward, the book takes place over a span of 3 years. And in the first 2 years, Lauren further develops her philosophy for Earthseed, but she also starts really preparing herself for the inevitable fall of the wall. She is learning how to survive, how to grow things, how she can utilize her resources to make food, things of that nature. She's learning how to barter. And while she's doing that, she's trying to warn people around her in her neighborhood to, just prepare themselves for what could happen. Of course, because she's a kid, they don't listen. They brush her off. They're like, don't worry about it. The government's going to fix it. We're all going to go back to the normal. She tried to tell them. They keep disregarding her. And she's like, you know what? I could only just prepare for myself. I can keep my people together, have my little to-go bag, and ready to go. And I'll be the leader for my family. That's what her thought process is, because they're not going to listen to her anyway. She's like, okay, no worries. I'm going to handle it. And of course, the wall falls. And unfortunately, she is the only one in her family to survive the vicious attack. I mean, it's really intense. I really want to tell you more about it, but I don't want to give away the entire book because I think it's so riveting and I think it's so colorfully written and I think it's so good. So I really want you all to read it and talk about it with me. But yeah, it's a very vicious attack and she's the only one in her family to survive, and that's really sad. So RIP to the fam. And within her neighborhood, she's one of 3 people to survive. So she pretty much gathers the people who are in her neighborhood and they start heading north. And as they head north to find a refuge for themselves to start rebuilding and settling, she picks up other people. And while she picks up these people, she's telling them about Earthseed and the philosophy of it. You have the power and the destiny to make the change you want to see. Matter of fact, I'm just going to read it. All that you touch, you change. All that you change, changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. So she's pretty much telling people, she's also Jehovah's Witnessing. She's Jehovah's Witnessing, but it's earth seeding. Literally planting seeds of her philosophy as she goes up the California highway to seek better refuge. Her plan is to go to Canada, but she pivots. And again, I don't want to give away everything, so just read the book. I'm trying to tell you, read the book. So of course, when you're walking in a group of people, or not even if you're walking in a group of people, if you're walking on the roads in a chaotic, dysfunctional society where people can rape you, can rob you, can kill you, can enslave you, yeah, It's crazy how anytime shit hits the fan, people go back to slavery. It's very weird. So obviously, as she's making her way up the California highway, it's no easy feat because, as I said, there are people who are on drugs. And I actually want to talk about one of the drugs, and it's one of the most important drugs in the book. It's called pyromania, and it's a drug that makes you, when you take it, you're addicted to fire. You think fire is so much more exciting and thrilling and more pleasurable than even sex. So there are not only just traditional drug addicts, there are drug addicts who are setting things on fire just to get off on it, essentially, and it just makes people crazy and obviously incredibly irrational. At this point, when the wall has fallen, I believe she's 17. So as you can imagine, as she and the people that she picks up and helps along the way, it is no easy feat to make this trek. There are a number of incredibly intense, violent, not ideal situations that occur as you are looking for a place of refuge. As you can also imagine, this is not easy for her, who has hyper empathy, to be a leader and then see people getting stabbed regularly, getting blown up, getting shot. It goes back to it being debilitating. It is not easy at all. To wrap up this summary of the book, throughout the journey, Lauren learns a lot about herself. She learns about how to lead, who to trust, how to remain resilient in an incredibly scary world. The themes that I would say the book touched on the most are resilience, community, the power of belief and willpower to press forward through uncertain times. So, here's what I did and didn't like about the book. I'm going to start about what I didn't like about the book. Nothing. I am obsessed with this book. I got that book from the library and bought it immediately after, as well as the Parable of the Talents. I bought both because I was obsessed. I feel like there was so much to learn from this book. I would say that my favorite thing about this book was Lauren. She was awesome. She was very smart, very intuitive. Even though she never knew what a normal world looked like, her being aware and knowing that it wasn't ever going to be that way and still pressing forward at the age of 15 to understand that we got to make some new stuff. Like it can't be like this anymore, and we can't expect it to go back to how it was. She really peeped game. And then also because I would say maybe a tiny bit of a conspiracy theorist, I just like learning about all the things that you can learn to survive. I love learning all the survivalist tips. I love seeing that people, as an optimist, I liked seeing that people can still have that community feeling in a time where you really don't trust people because they're all just surviving. And you can say the same thing now, that we're all just surviving now. So a lot of people are surviving, and it's still a beautiful thing. That's the beauty of being a human, that we can still tap into that human emotion and compassion for each other and still end up on top. It doesn't have to just be, oh, they took something from me. They all communally helped each other, and it was a really beautiful thing. So I like that in this book, that most times when they were faced with a tough decision, they came together and were very rational about it and weighed the pros and cons. It wasn't any kind of like weird leadership thing, which is such a human thing to do. Like, oh, I'm going to be the leader. Even though Lauren was essentially the leader because she was the one who organized all these people, I really liked how she maneuvered with the community and working with them, not above them, if that makes sense. You can't survive by yourself. You literally cannot. What does that even mean? Like, how does that even progress anything? So you have to work together. You have to band together. And even though I wouldn't say that I'm super religious, I would say that I really enjoyed the concept and the philosophy of Earthseed. Because it's true. Everything you touch does change. It's kind of like the butterfly effect in the sense that, what you do, it affects you in some kind of way. And change is always constant, whether you want it to be or not. things is gonna change forever. Like, you just gotta adapt and figure out your place in it all. So I really like that. I think it's a great book to really also kind of lean in to the things that we are living with and dealing with right now. Again, the book started in 2024. I read the book in 2023. Global warming is awful right now. It's I don't want to say it's completely irreversible. I am not a scientist, but it is tough right now, and it's causing a lot of trouble for people, more than people really think. Global warming is real, y'all. I don't know if you don't believe it. I'm sorry. It's a fact. But anyway, I think this book was really great. I'm obsessed with it. I will tell anybody about it. I love this freaking book, and I so hope that you all enjoy it just as much as I do. So I would like to give this book a rating of 5 out of 5 golden bookmarks. Overall, I think this is a really good book to start with if you're really interested in learning and reading more from Octavia Butler and maybe seeing a different perspective and way of thinking. Well, that pretty much wraps up the very first episode of the Cozy Little Book Club. Hooray. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you made it to the end and got past all my rambling, please leave an emoji of a little stack of books. Or, you can use any emoji. I just really like that one. And if you've read the book, please comment below what you did or didn't like about the book. I am really interested to hear you guys' comments. And remember, this is a safe space to have open discussion, whether you like the book or you did like the book. It doesn't matter. I just want to hear your opinions about the book. That is the point of a book club, to discuss the book. Oh, and if you also have a favorite Octavia Butler book that you recommend, please also comment that below, because I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it, and I'm going to probably review it. Easy. And before you go, be sure to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, because we, as in Boo and I, will be dropping new episodes every week. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope you have a lovely day. And remember, when you open a book, you open your mind. Peace. But when I first heard about Octavia Butler, and then when I read her books, and then after I read Kindred and kept consuming her books, I turned into a full Butlerite. I'm not kidding. A full Butlerite. I pretty much was like a Jehovah's Witness and being very pesky. No shade to the Jehovah's Witnesses, but you know how they... That was kind of shady. Not being pesky like a Jehovah's Witness. No, just kidding.